My name is Suzi Taylor. I'm with Extended University, and what you're here today for is an outreach partner roundtable. This is a series of discussions that give people who are writing or working on grants the opportunity to meet different partners from the community and learn a little bit more about what that partnership can be like. We are doing this project in partnership with the Research Network. That is a program of the Office of Sponsored Programs, which is under the VP for Research and Economic Development. And the Research Network is a program that helps people who are working on grant proposals get resources and information and help to do that. Michaela Young and Nika Stoop are here, and if you have any questions about that, they can definitely help you out after the presentation. So just a couple of real quick announcements today before we get started with Cody Stone. One of the reasons that we wanted to start these discussions is because we've been part of a group that's called the National Alliance for Broader Impacts. This is a group that was started with funding from the National Science Foundation to get people talking about broader impacts and outreach that goes with NSF grants. A lot of other funding agencies are also looking for the ways in which we share our research with broader communities. So I have a number of these brochures. I'll have them at the back of the room today, but it basically outlines specifically for National Science Foundation, what are some of the criteria that they will be looking for when they evaluate your broader impacts plan. So this is some really nice information, and it also gives you their website, and there's more resources there. I wanted to, this kind of hit close to home for me. I'm actually working on a proposal that's about STEM equity. And one of the questions that they ask very directly to define your community, your neighborhood, town, city, county, region, or multi-site, what is known about the demographics and or disparities that exist in your community, what is the state of STEM equity, and what populations are underserved or underrepresented. And then how or why has this issue become a priority for leaders in the community? So right here, I'm seeing I can't answer this question if I haven't talked to the people who are directly in the community. So that's what Cody's here to tell you about today. He'll talk about how you here on campus or wherever you are can partner with MSU Extension. They're a great resource and a partner because they're all over the state. I also wanted to make a real quick announcement. April 5th, there will be a workshop that you might be interested in. It's called How to Be a PI. That is through the Center for Faculty Excellence, and you can find out more on their website. Also, due on March 10th, which is Friday, there is the opportunity to apply for up to $5,000 in funding for outreach and engagement projects. This is through the Outreach and Engagement Council here at MSU. It's a great opportunity to partner with someone in the community and do some good work in Montana. That's on the Outreach and Engagement Council website. It's probably easiest if you just go to the MSU website and search for that. Two last things. We will have an evaluation at the end. For those of you who are online, we will share an online link to that so you can give some feedback for us. For people who are online, you're able to type questions in at any time. We'll try to feed those in as we get them. If not, we'll have some time at the end for question and answer. And I think overall, we really want this to be conversational and interactive. So Cody, hopefully you agree. If anybody has questions at any time, just go ahead and ask those. We will have time at the end, but we'll make it more of a conversation. If there's something you're thinking about or have a question, you can just throw it into Cody and he'll answer on the spot. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to turn it over to Cody Stone with MSU Extension.
Thanks, Suzi. I work with Suzi on various different projects and opportunities and with the Engagement Council, and Extended University has been a great partner with Extension as well, and we look forward. I thought this was a great opportunity to perhaps get some word out about what MSU Extension is, who we are, where we are, types of programmatic efforts that we participate in, and work with that. So a little bit, it is going to be very interactive. Please ask questions at any time. It is billed as a roundtable, so although we're not at a roundtable, I would hope that it's conversational as we're going along. I also, though, kind of as an outline, wanted to give a little information about Extension and what Extension is, who we are, where we're located, and then three brief examples of some current or past or just recently passed grants that we've partnered with various entities on campus and what we've done with that. And then we can have more of a discussion about ways in which Extension could be engaged in various aspects of a program or a project, in regards to needs identification, in regards to identification of participants, in regards to actually programmatic efforts, as well as then dissemination of research or transforming that research into something that can be applied and broadcast out in a more general type of basis. So we can talk about those types of things. So a little bit about myself. I've been here in Montana for 12 years. I served as the 4-H Volunteer and Leadership Development Specialist, the 4-H State Program 4-H Leader, and then also now serving as the Associate Director for MSU Extension. Prior to this, I worked for Extension for Texas A&M University for 10 years, and so about 20 years working with Extension. With that being said, who in the room is familiar with Extension? You know what we are, who we are, what we do? About half, a little more than half, maybe. Good. That's a good thing. So some of this introductory kind of things, I won't spend so much time on it, but I wanted to give you a broad kind of view of what that is. Again, questions can be asked at any time. So the formalization of cooperative extension actually happened with the Smith-Leader Act in 1914. There are very many precursors, and extension work was going on within university systems well before this. So let me reiterate that. But the actual formalizing of the cooperative funding structure coming from USDA, from the land-grant university, and in cooperation with state and local governments was formalized with the Smith-Leader Act. Signed by Woodrow Wilson, and he talked about it as one of the most significant far-reaching measures for education of adults. With this, and this is language directly from the primary document, it talks about diffusing among the people of the United States useful and practical information. So in a nutshell, we bring information from the university to the local communities. And so if you had to think about extension in a quick little way, that's the way in which I would think about it. We also are kind of at the center of this integration of teaching and learning, of research and discovery, and service and engagement. I think we do a good job of trying to integrate those aspects. We're a statewide educational outreach program. We apply this unbiased research-based knowledge that addresses locally identified needs, so needs within the community. And so it is really an engagement process. It's reciprocal. We have information that comes from the local individuals and individuals who serve as partners within our programs, as well as information from the university and leveraging the resources of the land-grant university, USDA, and those of the community. The entire state's our campus. We have 56 extension offices out off of the Bozeman campus. We serve all 56 counties and all 7 reservations. The 56 offices, though, you'll notice some of them are combined offices. Madison Jefferson has 1 extension office that serves both programs, and we have extension offices on 5 of the 7 reservations, and they're denoted here with the purple mark there as well. The other reservations are served through our adjoining county programs that may cross boundaries with the reservations. So we may have extension agents from 2 or more counties that are working with those local reservations in regards to local needs. But we really are across Montana and across generations in regards to our work. We have about 90 field faculty, and those individuals are either tenure track or non-tenure track faculty members, and they serve as PIs on grants. They engage in various different ways. We have about 30 faculty on campus. That fluctuates a little bit, and those individuals are either tenure track individuals or non-tenure track faculty. Those individuals, the majority of those individuals are actually departmentalized and work within departments. We do have some non-departmentalized faculty, including the 4-H Center for Youth Development. Our forestry specialist, Peter Kolb, is actually located at the other university, but he works for MSU Extension. And then we have a few others that are in that kind of realm as well. When we think about extension, we typically talk about programmatic efforts in 4 different areas. We talk about community and economic development. We talk about 4-H and youth development. We talk about ag and natural resources. We talk about family and consumer sciences. So we're talking about working with community on economic development, leadership development, community resource development. We're talking about youth development in regards to the 4-H program, focusing on healthy living, science, STEM projects, science, technology, engineering, and math, and also citizenship and civic engagement are some of the primary focuses of the 4-H program. When we're talking about ag and natural resources, it's a very broad, as you can expect in a state where ag is the leading industry, we have very broad reach in regards to that, and working with production ag, farmers and ranchers, working also with horticulture, working with forestry, working with water issues, just to name a few of those things. When we're talking about family and consumer sciences, we're talking about family economic development, human and family development, food and nutrition efforts, environmental health, community health, just to name a few of those, housing, as well, to name some of the program areas that we work with in that. So to talk briefly a little bit about 3 programs that we've recently partnered with various aspects of the university on and thinking about. So the first one that we're going to talk about is a new project that Dr. Sandy Bailey in Health and Human Development, who is our FCS program leader and also serves as a specialist, human development specialist, working for MSU Extension, partnering with MSU Center for Mental Health Research and Recovery with Matt Bowerly, Stone Child College, Little Bighorn College, and One Montana, in regards to mental health and preparing extension professionals to serve in non-clinical environments to really make a difference in regards to mental health, particularly amongst some youth with one program called YAM, which is Youth Aware of Mental Health, and then also in working with master trainers for mental health first aid, which is teaching participants about mental health emergencies, how to work with people and direct them towards seeking out health professionals and talking about health literacy as well. So that's kind of what this picture demonstrates with that. There are actually 2 grants that are going on with that that total over $400,000 that Sandy recently has received with that. We're talking here about escaping the resource curse. The proposal is called Developing Governance and Investment Frameworks to Leverage the Benefits of Energy Development for Rural Prosperity. Whoa. Now you know I had to read that. Now you know I had to read that one. So this is a partnership that's going on with Earth Science, with Julia Haggerty, with Paul LaChapelle, who is our program leader for community development serving in political science, MSU Extension's Local Government Center, and then also partnering with 3 other land-grant universities, Penn State, University of Wyoming, and Cornell. And really looking here about energy development and its impacts on community and agriculture sustainability and the challenges that are faced with particularly rural communities that face this boom or bust type of energy development. And this grant has been going on, I think, about a year. Steve? Okay, good. The last one over here is a picture that's an actual picture from the project, and this is a project that we partnered with extended universities, with Kim Opink, that we partnered with MSU Extension Montana 4-H. We partnered with microbiology and immunology, Dr. Ivanka Voyich. We partnered with cell biology and neuroscience, Dr. John Miller, who's recently retired, and with chemistry and biochemistry with Dr. Dratz. And this was Bioscience Montana, which is really focusing on bringing rural Montana youth to come and learn about bioscience. And we had 3 different modules that focused on immunology, that focused on metabolomics. There, I got to spit it out. And then also neuroscience. And participants came for a week-long camp, but then were partnered with college students who kept in contact with those students on a weekly basis and did projects via distance, and then also worked on research projects and came back then at the end of 6 months to do a presentation in what they had learned in regards to their final project. That was about $1 million grant that we were lucky to partner with, and I think was a real success. We're in the final stages of wrapping that up in regards to some curriculum that we can share with Montana 4-H. And so I talked earlier about one thing that we could provide, and sometimes we think about that with research is getting that information to an applied status. And so curriculum development developing we call them MONT guides, so Montana guides, that are really focused on practical application of research-based knowledge that can be shared with local individuals. With that, that's kind of a little overview of who we are, where we are, some examples of the projects that we participated in. And so at this point, I think I'm going to make it a little more conversational instead of me just kind of standing up, I may pull a chair over. I know Suzi may moderate and have a few questions, but I'm happy to take any questions that people have from distance or also those that are around or in the room. You
I'll
want a
come
chair
sit
too?
with you, Cody.
Oh,
So
okay.
we need a couch.
Oh yeah.
Okay, extend.
Now it's talk show. I feel like Donnie. Oh,
Yeah, there
I'm
we
sure
go.
we might be joining.
We need a big coffee cup today. Everybody has a big coffee cup.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I have a real quick question before
Great.
we open it up to everybody. You mentioned the Loctite Publications, which are a great way to get information out to communities. Can you talk a little bit more about how that would work if somebody here is working on a research project or has information that they would like to get out to people in that way? How would that work?
So how that would work, I can serve as a kind of a liaison or a conduit to connect researchers with faculty members that are in specific fields. Now, you are very more welcome as well to find those people that are located, and if you know those relationships, that's great as well. But if you're wondering like who in Extension works in water quality, you know, you can find that information on our website, but you could also zap me an email and I can connect you with Adam and we can move on with those ways. But how that would work, the first thing I would say is with any type of project that we'd be focusing on, I think the most important thing would be to engage and involve us early. And involve us early in the process. And that typically would mean in the development process of the proposal specifically. But once research information is out and we have some new ideas about sharing with individuals about water quality as an example, you know, we could approach Adam, visit with him. Individuals and researchers could be co-authors along with some of our individuals to take the research-based knowledge and really distill it to something that can be applied and that's applicable. The MONT guides are typically no more than a page to a few pages long. They're accessible, they're quick information, but they're easily digested by the public, I think. And then they're distributed free of charge, can be printed off of our MSU Extension website or many picked up at our Extension offices across the state. So.
Cool. And you have talented editors and graphic designers.
We do have those people. That's a good, as you worked with that group. So we do have a great group of individuals who can help us nurture the development of those and making them look nice and well received.
Great. Okay, should we see if there are any
I would love
questions here? Or Sarah, should we start with you? Are there any that have come in online? Okay.
I have a question. I want to dig further into these Montana guides, the MONT guide that you're talking about. If I'm understanding you correctly, it's research that has been done, vetted, and kind of culled down for everyone to be able to say, I'm curious about an outreach in a certain area. Let me go see if you have any work that was done that I can pull information from for the grant that I'm writing.
Yeah, they're really content specific, so specific to a specific area. They may be distilled research, or they may be a survey of research that was done by a faculty member to bring the new information in regards to whatever that applicable area is. We have them from horticulture to housing to food and nutrition to youth development. We have a broad area, so subject matter. It needs to be something though they're useful and they're applied. We have to think about them as a true application in something that deals with radon, as an example, or deals with water quality and testing of a well. So something that can be actually consumable by an individual and applied with that.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Do you, or does anyone do any kind of formal assessment of county agent needs in terms of sort of bottom up rather than top down, and specifically in ag and natural resources?
Within all of those areas, within the 4 areas, we have, I'll start with this. We have program leaders that serve as individuals who are connections between the specialist agents and then administration. Those individuals themselves have done some of these types of inventories or assessments to really think about needs and what those are locally. We have an annual conference every year in which we have some roundtable or small group discussions that focus on issue areas that are either brought forth by the specialists on campus or brought forth from local individuals as well. Steve, who's in the room, is new in a position with this, not new to MSU Extension, but new in a position on campus that's focusing on assessment, analysis, and planning and evaluation, and is doing some trips around to do some of these types of need-based assessments. And then the last thing I would say is we have also conducted in the past some strategic planning activities that have been really ground up in regards to getting information and are looking at when we would be on cycle for that again. Steve, do you have anything to add?
I think
That might
there's
help
several
answer.
people that have a general sense of those things, but I wouldn't say we have a formal document that would be useful, although that's something that we're giving some thought to.
I have a question from Michelle from OPI.
Mhm.
When curriculum is developed through research projects, how is it made available to teachers?
That's a great question, and we've partnered with OPI through the 4-H Center on some of the curriculum in regards to teacher standards. But the curriculum, all of itself, could be located or accessed through the Montana 4-H Center for Youth Development or through our publication store, Extension Publications. We also are partners and participate with the After School Alliance and utilize some of those curriculums there. But then also the other thing I would say is the local extension agent is a conduit with those local school systems that could bring in the curriculum and partner with schools in regards to that. One of the delivery methods for participation in the 4-H program is through school enrichment, through curriculum, and typically that is meeting typically a minimum of 6 kind of 1-hour lessons that are from some of these research-based curricula that focus on a specific topic. And those youth go through this series of kind of cumulative and sequential learning experiences that focus on a specific topic within the curriculum.
I wanted to circle back around actually to the question. I'm glad you asked about this needs assessment question because I think it's such a critical piece of writing these grant proposals. The more you can give solid evidence that this is really something that the community needs, the more likely it is that the funders are going to notice that you actually did your homework. You're not just saying, oh, that's a really cool idea, I want to do this. So I guess my first question, very basic, can anyone go to the annual conference for extension?
We have had partners from university, from different units within the university who have come, and particularly during our share fair time is a time in which we've had lots of individuals who are looking for information to come and partner. But I would say visit with me and we'll set you up and have an opportunity for you to engage with some of those extension agents. If you have an idea about that, it's something we want to vet a little bit and discuss beforehand to see what part of our conference it might fit in best to. But we're more than willing to have discussions about being open and engaging within that. The other thing I would add a little bit is our faculty use Activity Insight as well as faculty on campus. And we have a specific screen that's only utilized by Extension that's we call them engagement plans. And within that, they have to actually identify what that specific need is and how they came about that identification, and then write that into the plan as they're developing those types of things. And so the two things that many times people don't want to do or put off for a while, but I think are imperative, and anytime we're talking about doing planning, is what is the need and how did you come about it? And then what is the desired outcome and how do you know that you got there? And so building in evaluation at the front end, building in that needs assessment at the front end, I think help proposals be more successful, and not only the proposal, but also the project itself. If we know where it is we want to go, and how do we know we're going to get there, and how do we even know we should be on that road? Now, not all research, we know that. Sometimes we go into projects to explore some of those questions. So I understand that as well. But,
And just to reemphasize your timing question, I think you're totally right. When your proposal is due Friday and you're just coming to Cody and saying, can you tell me about the needs in this area? That's probably not going to work. But I'm going to guess you'd be willing to have coffee with anybody anytime.
I am.
Even if they're not writing a proposal.
I am.
Setting you up for some coffee dates.
I am. And as I said too, anyone at the university can contact any of our faculty members at any time. You may not know, though, who some of these individuals are and what some of their own personal research interests may be, or also what some of their community interests can be. And so if I can help facilitate that process and connecting you with faculty members that are both on and off campus, that can help in regards to thinking about these types of things. And many times we've had individuals who've come to us and said, we'd like to do this, and we'll put out feelers out to the field faculty and say, this individual is interested in this type of research project, and these are the ways in which you could be engaged and or involved. Is this a community need that you have, and you have interest in being engaged and involved in that? And I can help facilitate those discussions, probably more easier than you just going down the list and randomly cold calling all our people.
Yeah, cool.
So,
Just a quick follow-up, when does that annual conference?
it's in October, and it's typically around the 20th. It's typically the week after the MEA conference. So the week after the third Thursday, because you have to remember, it has to be the third Thursday and Friday, otherwise it's not the third weekend at MEA conferences. So, because we got stuck with that one year, and we're on the same time. But, yeah.
Is it typically in the same place as?
It's typically here on campus, and we're typically at the sub. We have been off campus in some instances, but not the majority of the time. We're typically on campus and we're in the sub.
Sarah, do we have any other online questions? Okay.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what is the, sorry, you can shoot me.
And this is being recorded.
I know, sorry, like the black team is gonna come, like a Black Ops team is gonna come together.
No,
What's our status on climate change right now? Are we using those words in the community? Are you guys open to partnering on grants about that? Are we keeping that chill right now, or what's happening?
No, I'm perfectly fine to be on the spot with that. Yes, the words are utilized. Yes, we recognize the science base behind what's happening with that. I think what we have to think about is what are approaches that we can take that are applicable to people. Telling people that the climate is changing and humans are causing this, that's fine and dandy. We know that that's research based, but what does that do for the ag producer? So we have to think about what are the practical applications that someone can take in regards to that, I think is what I would say. And I think we have to understand that we come at this from a respectful way in regards that people may be at various levels of acceptance, be at various levels of knowledge, perhaps about that as well. And so are there ways in which we can bring that information that is respectful of all of the partners that we have and the local partners as well? But we're sure using the word, we're sure engaged and involved in that. Brad Bauer is serving as our extension contact in regards to our climate hub, which is a regional based approach through extension. And so we're working within those areas. And I know Paul LaChapelle has been engaged with those conversations, Fabian as well, Jane Mangold. We have lots of individuals who've been working within those areas. Peter Kolb in regards to forestry. So
I had a similar question that I was going to ask, and I probed through the website, not seeing anything obvious from Extension on statements regarding climate change, but buried within the website, I found this building resiliency in a changing climate, a public forum in which several Extension representatives are presenting. And so I wanted to just advertise that it's March 21st from 5:45 to 9 p.m. in Helena, the Helena College Lecture Hall. And the public is invited to attend this free forum, presumably Extension sponsored, on building resiliency in a changing climate. So providing public opportunity to learn from the experts in their field and the status of climate and how we in our communities can be more resilient. So I think that's at least a nice start to it, but it would be, I mean, not seeing anything blatantly obvious on MSU Extension website on climate change, having some statement, analogous to MSU statement would be powerful, I think.
Yeah.
And you can do so in a respectful way.
Right, and we had a climate science focus group that did come up with a statement, and I'm not sure how big. There are many. That is not the only thing that I would say, or it's hard to find on our website.
Sure.
But we're looking at. We are currently with Extension Technology revamping our website to hopefully make it more user friendly and hopefully find these things a little bit better. Brad Bauer and other authors only about a few months ago authored a Mont guide that focused on climate science. And then a year and a half ago, we hosted an Extension Climate Science Forum or Summit here on campus that engaged individuals within MSU community, but also partners as well.
I think I'd add two things, Cody. Extension and farmers and ranchers in Montana and all over the U.S., all over everywhere, have been addressing climate and variability and drought and flood cycles and those things, in our entirety. And I would say one of the things that's probably a little bit unique about Extension actually goes back to our very beginnings, even before Smith Lever passed, and it goes to the leadership of Dr. Linfield, the building's named after, is that we don't really jump into the middle of the policy part of things. We stick with the science and we talk about options and consequences, and we don't advocate for doing one thing or another. We give people the information and allow them to make an informed decision. We don't always agree with their decision, but they make it. But we want them to have all the information that they can to make an informed decision.
And that's the other thing that I think is powerful about Extension is I think we're a great example of true engagement. In other words, bringing and identifying local needs, and local individuals serving as partners in regards to bringing about solution to an issue or a need, and being engaged with that from the get-go, and focusing on that as opposed to with any subject matter area, bringing knowledge just from above or just from MSU down, is we try to really focus on those community identified needs and serving with those individuals as true partners and not just recipients. Yes.
I fear my question might be a little too big, but it's kind of related to what we're talking about. But there's a lot of there isn't just one science on any particular thing. So I'm curious about how you vet and pick what you're going to. It must be really difficult. You mentioned one of the professors that working on with the kids on the bioscience, who I know to be very anti-vaccine. And I would imagine Extension probably is going. I mean, the science for vaccines is on a. I wouldn't say on a spectrum, but there's a disparity. So what do you do? So how?
I'll try to answer that. It is a big question, so let me throw that out there. We have our individual service faculty members, and so in regards to that, they serve as any faculty member would in regards to distilling and taking information, as looking at it as a broad spectrum, looking at various voices, dissenting voices that are associated, as well as those that may be more predominant in regards to research and distilling that down. The other thing I think Steve made a good point too is we present information there and then ask individuals to make their own decisions about that. And so we don't necessarily get into policy types of concerns with that. Specifically about many of our programs in focus, I would say particularly with that specific project that focused on youth, the subject was really in regards to the science as it relates to those three areas, and not necessarily in regards to particularly in regards to immunization. I would say that, and so that wasn't necessarily a topic. We did approach various different topics and provide that opportunity for the youth to say and engage and learn on their own in regards to making up their own decisions based on information that they get and taking that scientific process to develop some of their projects. But to kind of come back around to that larger kind of question is there's always a lot of science out there. And we try not to get into that my science is better than your science kind of battle that I know. I think our biggest efforts are what's out there, what are we seeing, and how can we distill that and bring that into something that's consumable to allow an individual to make up their own mind in regards to what they see as best practice, if it's an agricultural practice, best practice for their family, if it's in regards to nutrition or health, in those types of ways.
So in doing so, you might present dissenting points of view.
Yes. A great example of that is the energy curriculum that they worked on several different years ago. And, if you want to, consume a lot of energy, you're on this side of the spectrum. If you want to be totally off the grid, there's this different kind of perspective, not saying you need to be off the grid. We allow the individuals to weigh and see where it is that they are in regards to that and see that information and utilize that and make a decision on their own and really treat them as partners and individuals who are engaged within that process, I guess is what I would say, or try to answer that. It's a big question though.
And then there's, the politics of the day.
Oh, there are.
Perhaps affects how you go about business.
Well, there are, and we can't help but deal with that because we're dealing with humans. And we're dealing with people on a daily basis, so, yep.
Sarah, just want to confirm, people online can hear when we're, okay, awesome. And do we have any other questions from online?
I'm just curious, how on earth, if you have so many agents working on different issues, how much pressure are you under to have metrics of their success and impact? And if you are, how on earth do you do that with so many different projects running so much? Do you have any tricks of the trade?
I wish I had a good answer for that, and I think most systems struggle with that. I would say, though, we do take public dollars and hold those in trust and should be readily accountable for the use of those funds. And particularly, I think, as we have engaged our faculty in being better in the process of program development. In other words, what goes into those concepts? What's the reason that they're developing this project? What's the need that's out there? What's the relevance? I think about it in that way. Then what's our response to that? How are we going to develop programs, develop educational interventions, for lack of a better term, or workshops or different things along those lines that would help address that? And then how do we know that we got there? What are the results of that? If we can help people understand, and we utilize a logic model or a logic model-like program planning device, depending on, or model, depending on the faculty members and what they're most comfortable with. And then I think we've started to make some efforts in regards to capturing and asking some of those right questions up front within Activity Insight and our engagement plans. The information that we get out of Activity Insight is only as good as that we put forward in it. So let me first of all say that. But then I would also say it can help people think about the concepts of planning, and then we capture that information in regards to impacts or outcomes. And then we have individuals who work in our communication and technology that try to distill all of that together. I think we're doing a good job of that. Do we have area to improve? Oh yeah. I'm not sure we have a lot of tricks to share with that, other than I think it's important for us to think up front about systems in which, the ways in which we help people in regards to program development and the process of that, not necessarily the system. So thinking about the need, thinking about the desired outcome up front, as opposed to later on in the process. Think about that up front as you're planning it, and then building systems in that can capture that information, distill it, and put like things together. And we're still working a little bit on that. It's hard.
I think we do a fairly good job of getting knowledge gain, documenting knowledge gain, intent to change, those types of things, because we can pick those up fairly easy off of a good evaluation instrument. But our grassroots, bottom up philosophy makes aggregation challenging. And, there's a lot of discussion in other states and extension about program fidelity, that the same program is the same everywhere. County faculty are just as autonomous or more autonomous than faculty here on campus are, and they don't always want to do it the way that somebody else said they should do it. And so fidelity may not be
For
a
good
real-
reasons too.
and fidelity may not even be the right goal, although some granting agencies want fidelity for what they're doing. But there's always room for improvement on aggregating that impact together. And then we really are working with our faculty to try and improve their ability to actually document that something did change and that it worked.
There are, I would say that with where we've seen many successes within that, and typically not only in Montana, but in other parts of the nation as well, the groups that are really good at this are our family and consumer science groups that put together actual curriculum, programs, and projects that might have some flexibility, but that actually have built-in assessments at the end, which then can be easily aggregated. And so those types of things are easier for individuals to implement, and for us to then compile all that information and make some broader statements about what that impacts are on the people of Montana.
Cody, I wanted to return to something you mentioned very early on about agents who are located in tribal communities, or working with tribal communities. I think because NSF places such an importance on working with groups that are typically underrepresented in STEM, we do talk to a lot of researchers who are interested in connecting with Native American communities. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about that and just kind of give us some more information about that and how somebody might connect with you or someone else to talk about that.
Well, like I said earlier, first of all, I would say is we're really open to discussions and exploration. It needs to be something though that fits within the work that not only Extension does, but also that fits within a need within those communities. And one of the biggest advantages of Extension is we are located within those communities and engaged within those partnerships and can help navigate that world. The 5 Extension offices that are located on the reservations are through a grant program, the federally recognized Extension Travel Program, so FERTEP, we refer to that as. And those individuals are working currently within agriculture, natural resources, and youth development. There is some, however, I would say within that, though, they are open to meeting needs of communities and making that work if it's a family and consumer science issue or those types of ones. We're also hearing some information nationally that might be more community focused than necessarily ag and youth focused, coming about that way. But those individuals are working within those tribal communities. And then the agents that are within the counties that have or border the reservations and have those shared kind of borders are doing programmatic efforts there as well. And so I think the first step is let's have a conversation about it. But the thing that I want to, first of all, and I don't think anybody has this perception, but it's not that, oh, you're out there and you'll do it and we can just come to you and you'll be the people on the ground who are doing and engaging with that. It really needs to be a true partnership in regards to those conversations and moving that forward. But we do have strong connections with our tribal partners and have had some success through the bioscience program. Had some teams that were from some of the reservations. We've had some projects, 2 projects that are currently going on in regards to sustainable communities through youth development that are working with tribal partners. And they can help us navigate some of those types of things, getting resolutions from the tribal councils to partner and to engage within that and work with that.
But I think you hit the nail on the head that it's important to have that discussion to figure out is it a good fit? What is the right way to go about this?
Right.
Get some time to figure out the plan.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Because sometimes, not all frequently, but sometimes we get requests that they say, oh, you have connections to people, so we'll just give you the survey and you can get it out to the people, and it may not be a local need, it may not be something that they're focused on. There's not a benefit to those extension agents for participation within that. So I think it's important to be engaged, like I said, early on. Don't leave the proposal time to the week before it's due and realize you have to have a community engagement component of that. And we'll help. I mean, we'll try to do our best, but we'll get a better response if we're engaged and involved earlier within that process.
I think too, just if you're interested in working with reservation populations, the 5 reservations we have tribal agents on are Flathead, Blackfeet, Fort Belknap, Northern Cheyenne, and Fort Peck. And then our county offices work pretty well and pretty closely with Rocky Boys. And so, and then I think one of the things to understand as a partnering faculty member with Extension is when they do something like help you get a survey to the right people or those types of things, they're oftentimes expending some of their capital with their clientele to make that happen. So they're going to be making a little bit of a decision if you're asking them to give a lot of their capital up for something that's not, they don't perceive as valuable to their clientele. They're going to be a little more hesitant about that. If you're more aligned and it's like, this area isn't going to take a lot of my own relational capital that I have with my people, and it's something that is interesting to my people and to me, and it's going to line up a lot better. And but they, you know, at a bare minimum, you're wanting to work with some of our clients. They can maybe help you figure out the right people to talk to from the beginning, and you don't have to figure that out on your own. And that can be a tremendous time saver.
I think Barb had a question or a statement.
We have counterparts in the 7 tribal colleges as well, right? In addition to the 5.
There are extension programs that are operated through the tribal colleges, and there are extension professionals that are working on, their programs are grant funded through USDA, and so they're working on some specific types of projects. But we've partnered with many individuals that, beyond just the FERTEP agents that are MSU Extension employees, we've worked with some tribal college extension professionals that are truly operated or funded through the tribal college.
So I have another comment from Michelle from OPI. I would like contact information. I'm not after funding, however, I would like to see classrooms be a part of the research. New science standards put students in the middle, and I'd like to help get the data and lessons to teachers. Teachers will be looking for data analysis for student lessons and for real life situations for their classes to use. I would like to be a conduit to put those pieces together. Who would I talk to, or could this happen? Sounds pretty complicated now that I heard it.
No, that's fine. So 2 contacts. The primary contact for that would be Todd, T-O-D-D, and Kessner is his last name, K-E-S-N-E-R. And he is the director of the Montana 4-H Center for Youth Development. You can contact the 4-H Center at 994-3501. And I think Todd's email is tkessner@montana, spelled out, .edu. And so if you could type those in for her, that would help too. Or you can contact me, and I'm C Stone. It's pretty easy, cstone@montana.edu. And then we can help in regards to that. But the 4-H Center, and through various times through the years, has partnered with OPI in regards to curriculum and various aspects in regards to that as well. So.
What's your partnership with other extended universities like?
With other
Extension programs,
Extension
or like extended university? I guess I'm confused. Sorry.
Maybe I don't know the difference. So I'm thinking of Wyoming has.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know what so you're asking about other extension services in the yes. So each land grant university has an extension program, and nationally extension works through a subcommittee of APLU through ECOP, through some of those leaderships, so Extension Council on Policy. But there are directors that represent the extension systems and we're broken into 4 different regions. And so Montana's in the western region, and so it's Montana, then straight down, so Wyoming down to New Mexico, and then out west, including both Guam, American Samoa, Hawaii, and Alaska. And I'll be at one of these regional meetings in 3 weeks. And we actually, in the West, have come up with some documents that are talking about the Western perspective and how the West might be a little bit different than many other parts of the nation, and are there ways in which we can leverage the resources that we have within our own states to really produce some good quality programming that's representative of the West. I mean, water is one of those issues. Fire is another one of these types of issues that's out there. Rurality is probably one of those issues.
So you share programming and resources?
Yes, we do. A great example of that is last week or the week before, we just had a training team from Wyoming who came up and trained 6 of our extension agents as trainers for a community leadership development program that was developed in Wyoming, and then we utilize here. And so we share those resources. We can connect. That's another great aspect too. If you're looking at projects that you're wanting a multi-state perspective, or looking at having some of those, we can make those connections, and not only in the western region, but we can make those connections as well. The oil and gas grant is working with Penn State, Cornell, and Wyoming. And so those are some opportunities that Julia and Paul probably took some advantage of finding colleagues within those other universities to partner with. And so we can sure engage and start down that process as well. And we share resources. We talk quite often. The Western Extension directors meet quarterly at least. And so it's a pretty strong system of sharing of those resources.
We're almost down to our end here, so I wrote down a couple of key points that I think are particularly relevant to people who are writing grant proposals, which I think is why a lot of you are here. Feel free to jump in if there's any that I missed. I mean, the one that I think is just really the coolest is that you have faculty all over the state.
Yep.
And it's so easy for those of us who spend most of our time on campus to think we know what people want out in these different areas, but you actually have people who live there and work there and know what's happening in those areas. So I just think that's a really amazing resource that we can tap into right here. The other I wanted to mention is, again, just the power of working with 4-H. When we wrote that proposal to NIH for the Bioscience Montana project, I think a lot of people misunderstand 4-H, but my understanding is that it's the only youth organization that's directly affiliated with the university system. So I think that's pretty powerful when you're writing a proposal, because it has such a solid foundation. I mean, people who work in 4-H are faculty members, and it's connected to the university, and it just has sustainability and resources that I think sound really appealing when you're writing a grant.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing I wrote down, you talked about this concept of public engagement, which is kind of a hot topic that we hear in broader impacts. There's a concept called public understanding of science, which has the unfortunate acronym of PUS. What that means is basically, I have all this knowledge and I will stand here and talk to you about it, and then you will be a better person. You're understanding my science. Whereas public engagement with science is actually having this dialogue. You know, maybe you do have knowledge of this particular research, but you want to talk to people in the community and find out what they're thinking and seeing, and that actually informs your research. Mm-hmm. And I think the capacity to do that engagement work through extension is really powerful. Okay, did I miss any that are great for people writing proposals?
I would say again, you can contact our faculty, or you can contact me. I have some cards that are over there by the sign-up sheet. And if you have some ideas, I'm happy to meet with you, visit, coffee, fine and dandy, whatever. But can start with that and thinking about that, and then thinking about ways in which that could be engaged and implemented within extension and with our partners, and perhaps put you in contact with the key people that could help really make some of those things happen. Those things happen.
Awesome. Okay, well, before you leave today, we do have an evaluation I'd love everybody to fill out. It shouldn't take too long. There's also an opportunity to suggest future partners for these kind of discussions. Maybe someday we'll get an actual round table. And then I have the brochures from the National Alliance for Broader Impacts. Reminder, if you're interested in writing an outreach and engagement seed grant, those are due Friday. We both serve on that council and could help you if you have any questions about that project. For those of you online, we can provide a link to the online survey. What can I type that? I'll give you that to type in. Okay. I want to say thanks, Cody, for being here today, and thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you.